What makes for a good life? I mean, it's one of the oldest questions humanity has ever asked. But what if the answer wasn't just philosophy? What if it was actual data? Today, we're going to dive into The Good Life, a book that breaks down the key lessons from the world's longest scientific study on happiness. Let's see what they found out.
We all want it, we're all chasing it, but what is it really? This question is the whole reason this incredible research even started, and it's what we're going to unpack together.
Just think about that for a second. For real, one single choice. Would you double down on your career, your finances, maybe your health regimen? Hold on to that thought, because what we think is going to make us happy, well, it's often not what actually does the trick.
And this slide right here, this pretty much shows where our heads are at. A survey of millennials found that a whopping 76% said their #1 goal was to get rich, and 50% they wanted to be famous. I mean, we're told constantly that money and achievement are the finish line, but is that what the data actually shows?
This is where it gets really, really cool, because while so many of us have been chasing these big, shiny goals, this one-of-a-kind study has just been quietly in the background, tracking real lives year after year, and it's uncovered a very, very different answer.
So let's talk about the Harvard study of adult development. And look, this is not just another study. This thing is a monumental scientific achievement that has followed the very same people for pretty much their entire lives.
84 years. Just let that sink in for a moment. The study kicked off way back in 1938, tracking 724 young men, and now it's even extended to include their kids. This gives us this incredible, almost impossible to get picture of how life choices actually play out over a whole lifetime. So the crucial difference here is how they did it. See, most studies are what you'd call retrospective. They ask you to remember the past. But the Harvard study is prospective. It's like a living document. It doesn't ask people what their life was like. It records their life as it happens. This gets around the massive pitfalls of memory, which, let's be honest, can be wildly unreliable. And this little story, it just illustrates that point perfectly. When two of the study participants, Henry and Rosa, were asked how they first met, they both remembered the story a little differently. He remembered her wearing different colored stockings. She remembered him wearing different colored socks. It's such a funny, relatable moment that just shows you how fuzzy our memories get. The best part? The study had actually asked Henry about it way back in 1954, so we know for a fact he was the one with the mismatched socks.
Now, the data tells a powerful story, for sure, but it's the individual lives that really bring it all home. So to really get what the findings mean, let's just zoom in on the life of Henry and Rosa Keene. When Henry was in his 70s, a researcher asked him and Rosa to talk about their greatest fears. And after this long, thoughtful pause, this was his answer. I mean, it is an incredibly raw and powerful statement that just perfectly captures the depth of their bond, a bond that was the absolute bedrock of his entire life. And their life was far from a fairy tale. They faced unbelievable hardships, their son getting polio, Henry losing his job, family struggles. But through every single one of those storms, they had each other. Their relationship was this constant source of strength, and it's what allowed Henry to consistently report that he was happy or very happy, even during the absolute toughest of times. So, after following hundreds of lives just like Henry and Rose's, after analyzing thousands and thousands of data points, what did the research find? What was the single factor that stood out, above everything else, for predicting a long, happy, and healthy life? You know, we're all taught to chase these things, right? Rack up the achievements at work, make more and more money, eat perfectly clean, never miss a workout. And hey, don't get me wrong, those things are important. But they are not the most important. The study found something else, something much simpler and way more profound. That's it. That is the secret. The single most powerful predictor of health and happiness across an entire lifetime is the quality of our relationships. And the researchers, they are absolutely certain about this. This is the headline finding from 84 years of work. And it wasn't a small effect either. It was this massive, consistent discovery. Good relationships literally protect our bodies and our brains from the challenges of life. So, why is this ancient piece of wisdom, now backed by decades of hard science, so critical for all of us to hear today? Because frankly, we are facing an epidemic of loneliness. Roughly 1 in every 4 Americans reports feeling lonely. In our hyper-connected digital world, we are somehow feeling more disconnected than ever before. And it's taking a serious, serious toll on our public health.
And let's be super clear about what this means. This isn't about the number of friends you have on social media. It's not about being in a relationship or being married. You can absolutely be lonely in a crowd, and you can be lonely in a marriage. It is all about the quality of those connections. Having people in your life you can truly deeply count on, that is what provides the protective effect. You know, the most hopeful message to come out of this entire study is that it's never too late. People found happiness and they built good relationships at every stage of life. So the question isn't about what you should have done in the past, it's about what you can do right now. What one small step can you take today to nurture a connection that matters to you? The science is clear. That is the single best investment you can possibly make in your own good life.
Please do subscribe.